Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we're stepping back into an era of transformation, tension, and remarkable change in the United States. The year is 1965, an unforgettable turning point in American coinage history. But our focus isn't simply historic. It's tangible. It's the iconic Washington quarter, the version that sparked confusion and curiosity for decades, the one collectors always whisper about, the elusive 1965 quarter that some people believe should have never existed in the form we know today. And as we look closer, you'll discover how one small coin from this hectic year grew into one of the most talked about modern pieces of pocket change ever minted. The story starts with a problem growing quietly during the early 1960s, long before most Americans realized anything unusual was happening. Silver prices were rising, sometimes sharply, and this seemingly small shift affected everything from industrial supply companies to national coin production. Up until that point, U.S. dimes, quarters, and half dollars carried real precious metal value because they were struck from 90% silver. Coins weren't just symbolic currency, they had melt value. They had weight, literally and figuratively. As the price of silver climbed higher and higher, the United States Treasury experienced an unexpected coin shortage. The public began hoarding and even melting silver coins, betting that their metallic worth would soon exceed their face value. Vending machines jammed. Businesses struggled to give change. Banks saw their supply of silver coinage shrink almost as fast as they could reorder it. What had been a smooth, invisible economic mechanism, the endless cycle of change flowing between the American people and the mint, was suddenly disrupted. In response, the U.S. government took dramatic action. For the first time since the 19th century, coin composition would change. Beginning in 1965, Washington quarters would no longer be made from silver. Instead, they would be struck using a new clad composition, a copper core sandwiched between two layers of copper-nickel alloy. The coins looked similar to their silver predecessors, but their metallic DNA was fundamentally different. Lighter, cheaper to produce, and no longer tied to the volatility of precious metal markets, these clad coins marked the end of an era, but the transition wasn't peaceful. Many collectors protested the idea of removing silver from circulating coinage. They insisted that the authenticity, dignity, and historic continuity of U.S. money were at stake. They feared the mint was abandoning tradition. They worried future generations wouldn't recognize the difference between a genuine silver quarter and a modern one unless they had specialized knowledge. Nevertheless, Congress pushed ahead, determined to solve the shortage and stabilize the currency system. Now, here's where things get particularly intriguing for collectors today. Because 1965 was such an unusual year, the mint took an additional step. It temporarily removed mint marks from all coins. No Denver, D. No San Francisco, S. No Philadelphia, P, though that facility traditionally didn't use its mark anyway. The absence of mint marks was meant to discourage collectors from hoarding newly issued coins and worsening the shortage. This decision created a unique fingerprint for the year. A 1965 quarter could have been minted in any of the three primary facilities, but there's no obvious way to tell which one actually produced it. For researchers and enthusiasts, this created a sense of mystery. For casual collectors, it sparked questions and speculation. And years later, for treasure hunters searching through old jars of forgotten change, it turned the 1965 quarter into a tiny time capsule from a moment when the nation's economy shifted gears. Despite being struck in vast numbers, by some estimates, more than 1.8 billion pieces, the 1965 quarter occupies an unusual space in coin collecting culture. Most of them are common and circulate freely even today. They show wear from 50-plus years of pockets, purses, plating, keychains, and vending machines. Millions of them were dropped on countertops, stacked in rolls, and spent on newspapers, phone calls, candy, and coffee. In their day-to-day lives, Americans never looked twice at them, but at the higher end of condition and preservation, this same coin becomes something entirely different, a prized collectible that can catch the attention of dealers and seasoned hobbyists. High-grade, well-preserved examples, especially those from the earliest die production, show remarkable detail and crisp, sharp lines. Many collectors didn't pay attention to saving pristine-clad coins back then. At the time, people were storing away silver, not copper-nickel. So a pristine 1965 quarter with full luster, clean surfaces, no heavy contact marks, and strong strike quality can command real value in today's market. In the world of numismatics, condition is everything. A small scratch can matter. A faint haze, a discoloration, a weak strike, or even a minor abrasion from sitting in a drawer can drop a coin's value dramatically. So finding a fully brilliant, sharply defined 1965 Washington quarter is like finding a preserved photograph of a chaotic historical moment, untouched, undamaged, and waiting to be appreciated. But condition isn't the only thing that sparks interest. For decades, rumors and legends surrounded the possibility of rare transitional errors from this year. Some people claimed the mint accidentally struck 25-cent pieces on leftover silver planchets from the previous year. Others insisted that there were experimental compositions or undocumented production test runs. While such stories make excellent fuel for treasure-hunting fantasies, the U.S. Mint has repeatedly stated that no official silver quarters dated 1965 were authorized. Still, the curiosity, speculation, and tiny whisper of "what if" added even more mystique to this already iconic coin. Collectors today often wonder how much their 1965 quarter might be worth. The truth is that most circulated examples carry only face value. They're part of ordinary change in millions of drawers and coffee cans across the country. But exceptional pieces, those kept in extraordinary condition from the moment they were struck, can capture attention and climb into a respectable value range, especially when graded by professional services. A sharply struck, nearly flawless example from the earliest die state can rise well above what most people would expect from a seemingly common clad quarter. To understand why, picture the world of 1965, a nation navigating cultural shifts, technological advances, a space race racing faster than ever before, and sweeping changes to everyday life. The quarter that emerged from that era wasn't merely a replacement for silver. It was a symbol of a country adjusting, innovating, and moving toward a modern monetary system. Every example that survives in beautiful, pristine condition is a preserved slice of that change. Imagine a collector today, gently tilting a flawless 1965 quarter beneath a bright lamp. The mint luster glides across its surface like liquid. Every strand of Washington's hair is defined. The eagle on the reverse spreads its wings with intention, each feather crisp and detailed. These aren't qualities you see on most examples. That's why the upper-end collector's market pays close attention when such coins appear at auction or in certified holders. The value of exceptional coins isn't just about rarity. It's about the story they embody. And few modern coins carry a story as richly layered as the 1965 Washington quarter, the coin that marked the end of the Silver Age, the start of the clad era, and the moment when the American coin shortage forced an entire nation to rethink its currency. So for viewers holding onto a jar of old quarters, it's worth taking a moment to look closely. Illuminate the surface. Tilt the coin. See if the luster dances across it smoothly. Inspect the details of Washington's profile. Examine the eagle's feathers. Look at the fields for deep scratches, nicks, or spots where the shine has faded. It's entirely possible, even if rare, that a hidden gem has been sitting unnoticed for decades. We're taking a deep, richly detailed journey into one such coin, the 1990 D Washington quarter, minted in Denver, carrying with it a story that blends American culture, economic transition, and the hidden thrill of coin collecting. Make yourself comfortable, because this is a slow unfolding exploration, more like a stroll through a historical gallery than a quick list of facts. By the end, you'll understand not just the worth of a single quarter, but why people across the country keep searching through rolls of coins, hoping to stumble on a piece of American heritage like this one. The year 1990 in the United States was a curious moment in time. The Cold War was easing into its twilight, personal computers were beginning to step into ordinary homes, and the sound of jangling coins in pockets was still a daily part of life, before digital payment systems began reshaping how we handle money. Coins were everywhere, passing through gas stations, movie theaters, diners, and the hands of millions of Americans. Among them was the Washington quarter, already a long-established classic of U.S. coinage. The design dated back to 1932, honoring the 200th birthday of George Washington. Sculptor John Flanagan's portrait, crisp and dignified, had become one of the most recognizable images in American currency. By 1990, most people saw these quarters simply as tools for vending machines, parking meters, and pay phones. But to collectors, each one offered hints and clues, mint marks, die varieties, surface quality, that could transform an ordinary 25-cent piece into something far more intriguing. The Denver Mint, marked with a small d, produced hundreds of millions of these coins in 1990. The sheer number means that most examples today are common, ordinary, and worth exactly what they say, 25 cents. But within any vast production, anomalies emerge. A fraction of the coins come out sharper, cleaner, better preserved, or struck with such precision that they become desirable to collectors. Other examples pick up fascinating quirks, small errors, die breaks, off-center strikes. And some coins simply survive the decades untouched, protected in mint sets or forgotten stashes, earning the pristine condition that collectors call mint state. These are the coins that inspire treasure hunts. Imagine a coin that's been sitting in a bank roll since the early 90s, its surface untouched by thousands of hands, its shine still intact after more than 3 decades. The moment you see one like that, you understand why collectors talk about eye appeal, the way art lovers talk about brushstrokes. But a coin's appeal isn't just about condition, it's also about connection. Think of a 1990 D Washington quarter not merely as metal, but as a silent witness to personal histories. Maybe it once rode in the pocket of a soldier returning home. Perhaps it hung out in a diner cash register during the heyday of neon signs. Maybe it rested in the tip jar of a musician playing late nights. Every coin minted in 1990 traveled through a world that looked familiar yet strikingly different from today. Let's take our time lingering over the finer details, because a true coin collector, even an aspiring one, knows that slowing down is part of the magic. Run your thumb across the design in your imagination. You'll feel the raised ridges along the rim, called reeding, designed centuries ago to prevent dishonest folks from shaving precious metal from the edges of coins. Even though the modern quarter contains no silver, the tradition remains. Turn it over, picture the proud eagle still spreading its wings, talons gripping a bundle of arrows, olive branches curving below. This elegant reverse design would remain unchanged until 1999, when the 50-state quarters program dramatically reshaped American coin collecting. But a 1990 D quarter sits at a crossroads, one of the last years before that massive redesign arrived. It represents the end of an era, the final quiet years of the classic Washington quarter before all the color, excitement, and collector frenzy of the state quarter boom. Collectors seek out these transitional era coins for exactly that reason. Even coins from high mintage years can gain appeal when they mark the end of a long chapter. A 1990 D Washington quarter isn't rare in the traditional sense, but it has a nostalgic authenticity that later commemorative versions can't quite replicate. Now imagine the journeys that a high-grade example did not take. It didn't live in pockets, didn't clatter inside metal drawers, didn't slip between the cushions of a sofa. Instead, it remained protected, untouched, preserving the clarity of Washington's profile, the sharpness of each letter, the satin smoothness of its fields. These are the coins that grading companies evaluate, assigning precise scores that can greatly influence value. Most circulated 1990 D quarters remain worth face value. But those in exceptional condition, what collectors call gem uncirculated, can command surprising prices. It's the difference between an everyday object and a miniature piece of sculpture, preserved across generations. At this point, close your eyes and imagine a numismatic auction. The room is quiet except for murmurs and the soft shuffle of papers. When a brilliant, gleaming 1990 D Washington quarter appears on the screen, bidders lean forward, not because they expect $1 million shock, but because they admire perfection. They appreciate the journey a coin didn't take. They imagine its origins at the Denver Mint, the hum of machinery, the heat of metal, the rhythmic strike of dies creating identical masterpieces by the thousands. Yet only a handful survive untouched. This is where value takes shape, not only in dollars, but in story, rarity, beauty, and sentiment. And let's indulge in a thought many collectors secretly enjoy: the possibility that one of these special coins might be sitting unnoticed in a jar, purse, or drawer right now. It might pass through a convenience store, a highway toll booth, or into the palm of a curious child who wonders why this coin looks different somehow. The dream of discovering a quietly valuable piece of history is part of what keeps the coin collecting community vibrant and passionate. If you're watching this video while holding a 1990 Washington quarter of your own, take a moment to examine it closely. Look at the luster. Does it shine evenly across the surface? Observe the details. Are the lines sharp and crisp, free from scratches or bag marks? Does Washington's profile appear bold, almost sculptural, as if struck yesterday? If so, you may possess something more interesting than ordinary change. Even circulated examples have a charm. The worn edges and softened lettering tell stories, too, stories of arcade machines and school cafeterias, of road trips, grocery runs, and small everyday moments woven into the fabric of American life. A circulated quarter may not sell for high value, but it still holds emotional and historic worth. The more you learn about coins, the more you appreciate their role as tiny time capsules. Now let's turn our attention to the ultimate point of curiosity for many viewers: the value. While the vast majority of 1990 quarters are common, high-grade specimens, especially those graded by professional services, can command respectable prices among collectors. What differentiates an ordinary example from a premium one often comes down to sharpness of strike, luster, freedom from marks, and overall visual appeal. Today, as we explore one of the most intriguing pieces of modern American coinage, the 1999 Washington quarter featuring the special date of 1787, the very first issue of the United States State Quarters program honoring Delaware. Today's script dives deep into the origins, the design, the minting quirks, and especially the collector appeal of this coin. Our focus isn't just on how these quarters came to be, but why certain examples have become surprisingly valuable. So settle in, because this is more than a quick explanation. This is the full, immersive story of a coin that marked a turning point in American numismatic history, the birth of the State Quarters program. To appreciate why the 1999 Delaware quarter became such an icon, we have to rewind to the late 1990s. The United States Mint was on the verge of launching what would become the most successful coin collecting program in the nation's history. The idea was simple yet visionary: celebrate each of the 50 states with its own unique quarter design, released in the order that each state joined the Union. The very first state honored was Delaware, proudly presented with the date 1787, the year it became the first state to ratify the Constitution. Minted in 1999, this coin kicked off a frenzy among collectors, schools, grandparents searching through pocket change for their grandkids, and everyday Americans who suddenly had a reason to look at their currency more closely. Billions of these quarters were produced, but like every great story in numismatics, even the most common coins can become extraordinary when certain factors elevate them from ordinary change to collectible treasure. Understanding the 1999 Mint mark: the letter D on the coin signifies the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities in the United States for producing circulating coinage. In 1999, Denver struck hundreds of millions of Delaware quarters. And while the design itself is a beautiful tribute to Caesar Rodney's historic horseback ride, collectors often look beyond the artwork and seek out subtle details, minting errors, condition, and distinctive die variations that might set a coin apart. Many of these 1999 quarters entered circulation immediately, meaning they picked up wear, scratches, discoloration, and the kind of damage that comes from grocery store drawers, vending machines, and years of being exchanged countless times. So when pristine examples appear, especially those struck exceptionally well, they catch the eye of collectors who appreciate the craftsmanship behind them. Why the date 1787 matters: the date 1787 positioned just beneath Caesar Rodney's horse on the reverse of the coin is more than decorative. It is a historical anchor. It links the imagery not to the minting year, but to the moment Delaware became the cornerstone of American statehood. The combination of that date with the year 1999 on the obverse creates an appealing contrast between colonial-era symbolism and modern American coinage. many collectors love this dual date element because it ties the quarter directly to an important national milestone. It also differentiates the Delaware quarter from many other modern coins, which typically only feature the year of minting. The iconic Caesar Rodney design. The reverse design of the 1999 Delaware quarter is dynamic and instantly recognizable. Caesar Rodney, mounted on horseback, racing to cast his tie-breaking vote for American independence. The artwork captures movement, determination, and a sense of urgency that perfectly encapsulates the spirit of the Revolutionary era. This scene is more than a simple design choice, it is a celebration of an individual whose actions shaped the future of the United States. The bold lines, detailed horse, and expressive motion helped set the tone for the entire State Quarter series. This strong artistic foundation boosted the coin's popularity, both among collectors and the general public who admired its striking imagery, rarity, condition, and collector demand. Even though the 1999 D quarter is not rare in a general sense, specific examples with exceptional qualities are highly desirable. Collectors focus on details like sharp strikes, untouched surfaces, glossy luster, and absence of marks. Because these coins were produced in extremely high quantities, even small imperfections can show up easily. Coins that escape circulation entirely, those stored in mint sets, rolls, or early collections, stand the best chance of being in premium condition. These untouched or lightly handled pieces shine with brilliance and display the artwork exactly as the designers intended. Then there are the subtle variations and mint-made anomalies that make the collecting world exciting. Minor shifts in die pressure, polishing patterns, or other minting quirks can create unique features. Some collectors search tirelessly for these tiny differences because they tell the story of the minting process itself, a behind-the-scenes look at how coins come to life, historical impact and national interest. What made the 1999 State Quarter craze remarkable was how it brought people together. Families exchanged discoveries at their kitchen tables, teachers incorporated coin collecting into lessons, hobbyists built elaborate display books, and the mint saw unprecedented enthusiasm. The program sparked interest across generations, and the very first quarter, the Delaware issue, became an icon of this movement. Even years later, holding a 1999 D Delaware quarter evokes nostalgia for a time when the State Quarters program reinvigorated the hobby. It became the spark that ignited a new era of casual collecting, creating millions of new enthusiasts who developed a deeper appreciation for American history and currency. Why some 1999 D quarters rise in value. The value of modern coins often hinges on a combination of rarity and high grade, collector demand, and visual appeal. For the 1999 D Delaware quarter, the factors include. All of these elements contribute to why certain pieces command prices well beyond 25 cents. The collector's perspective. When coin enthusiasts discuss this quarter, they often mention how it marked the beginning of their collecting journey. For many, it was the first State Quarter they found, the first they placed into an album, or the first they learned detailed information about. Its historical significance is baked into the metal, and its place in the evolution of modern numismatics is unmistakable. Collectors today still seek out well-preserved Denver-minted Delaware quarters because they symbolize a moment when coin collecting wasn't just a hobby, it was a nationwide phenomenon. The combination of artistic detail, historical tribute, and nostalgic meaning makes this coin a timeless favorite. Closing narrative. As we wrap up this long exploration of the 1999 D Washington quarter with the 1787 Delaware design, it becomes clear why this coin still captivates collectors. It's more than a piece of pocket change. It's a bridge between America's first state and the modern era of coin design. It's a reminder of a moment when millions of people started looking at their money not just as currency, but as history, art, and storytelling combined. Its imagery honors a daring ride that changed the course of the nation. Its dates anchor it to the very roots of American independence. And its legacy lives on in albums, collections, and the memories of those who first hunted for it in their spare change. We're diving deep into one of those quiet treasures, the United States of America 2004's Mint Mark Washington Quarter Dollar, a coin many people overlook, yet one that carries a story richer than its face value might suggest. You might be surprised by how much history, artistry, and cultural significance is packed into these tiny silver discs. The quarters made in 2004 marked a special period, one filled with renewed interest in collecting, sparked by the state quarters program that captured the imagination of millions. It was a time when people who had never before cared about coins suddenly found themselves saving change from grocery store counters, scanning pockets for new releases, and teaching their kids about the states as they flipped through colorful quarter maps. But among these quarters, one particular piece stands out, not because it was the rarest ever minted, nor because it carried some dramatic error, but because it was an example of careful craftsmanship from the San Francisco Mint, a facility long associated with refined proofs, collector-focused production, and some of the most beautifully struck coins in American history. Understanding the moment, why 2004 mattered. To appreciate the value of this coin, we need to zoom out for a moment and re-enter the world of 2004. America was in full stride with the state quarters program by then, releasing 5 designs each year, each one telling a piece of the nation's story. Collectors, both casual and dedicated, were waiting eagerly for each new state to debut, sometimes even forming lines at banks hoping to get their hands on fresh rolls before they vanished. The design themes that year included the states of Michigan, Florida, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Texas. Each one brought its own flavor, its own symbols, its own slice of history. The San Francisco Mint's mint-marked proof quarters added an extra layer of artistry to these designs, using polished dies, mirror finishes, and frosted foregrounds to achieve that brilliant depth proof collectors love. Even if you're not a coin expert, the difference between a circulation quarter and a proof quarter is unmistakable when the two are placed side by side. The proof almost seems to glow, as if the figures and symbols on its surface have been sculpted in miniature relief. These techniques, perfected and refined over decades, turned a simple 25-cent piece into something more akin to a work of art. The significance of the S Mint mark located just below Washington's portrait, the elegant S Mint mark on the 2004 proof quarter immediately sets it apart. It tells a quiet story. This coin didn't pass through vending machines or laundromat change slots. It didn't clatter in pockets or car ashtrays. It wasn't part of everyday transactions, because it was never meant to be. These coins were struck specifically for collectors, using methods that emphasized precision and visual beauty. The San Francisco Mint has had this reputation for more than a century. Long after many of its contemporaries shifted focus to mass production, San Francisco embraced its identity as a home for proof coinage, coins that require more time, effort, and craftsmanship than standard mint runs. That's part of why collectors seek these pieces out. They represent the highest quality version of a design from any given year, and in 2004, as interest in the state quarters program continued to surge, demand for proof sets soared as well. People wanted to own the cleanest, sharpest, most vibrant examples of each state design, and that meant turning their attention to these S Mint-marked beauties. What makes a 2004 S Mint mark quarter stand out today? Fast forward to today, and the market for these coins has matured. While millions of Americans saved ordinary circulation state quarters, far fewer preserved pristine proof versions in protective cases. The key to value with any collectible coin is condition, and because proof quarters were never meant to circulate, collectors have high expectations. A proof from 2004 is only considered truly desirable if it still holds that mirror shine, those deeply frosted design elements, and the crisp detail of a fresh strike. Coins kept in their original mint packaging often fare best, while those removed from sets and handled without gloves sometimes lose small degrees of clarity or surface perfection. Even a faint scratch on the mirrored field can affect a coin's desirability among serious collectors, but when a 2004 S Mint mark Washington quarter still looks as flawless as the day it was struck, when its surfaces glow under a lamp and its details shine like they were sculpted yesterday, that's when its value becomes something worth talking about. And that brings us to the heart of our exploration. How much is this coin worth? A look into market demand and collector passion. Coin values don't exist in a vacuum, they depend on interest, rarity, condition, and generational enthusiasm. And something special has happened in recent years. New collectors have entered the market, not just older hobbyists who have been collecting for decades. Younger people, chasing nostalgia and appreciating the artistry of coins they saw as children, have begun seeking out proof quarters from the early 2000s. This renewed attention has raised the demand for high-grade examples of coins like the 2004 S Washington quarter. Meanwhile, proof sets from this era have sometimes been broken apart and sold individually, which means complete, well-preserved pieces now feel a little scarcer than they did when they first rolled out of the mint. Coin sellers and auction platforms have noticed this shift, too. While not every piece sells for a fortune, no modern proof quarter is going to turn into a million-dollar treasure overnight. Certain examples have steadily increased in value, quietly making their mark in the world of modern collectibles. The coin's place in American memory. What also adds to the charm of the 2004 mint mark quarter is its place in the collective memory of an era. For many families, the state quarters program was their introduction to collecting. It sparked conversations about geography, history, and the unique identity of each state. Parents helped children fill those folding maps. Some carefully stored each new quarter as it was released. Others opened proof sets and admired the mirror-finish coins inside without quite realizing they were holding something that would one day have value beyond its small denomination. The 2004 quarter represents not just a piece of metal, but a moment in time, a cultural wave, a national pastime, a hobby that bridged generations and brought people together. Collectibles that come with built-in nostalgia often hold their value better because they resonate emotionally, not just economically. So when we ask what a coin like this is worth, part of the answer lies in the marketplace, but another part lies in the hearts of the people who look at it and remember the excitement of that era, the value revealed. And now, we arrive at the moment many of you have been waiting for: the monetary value associated with a well-preserved, proof quality, 2000. For mint mark Washington quarter dollar. While the exact value of any collectible coin can vary depending on grading, condition, and the buyer's enthusiasm, a strong example of this particular coin has been known to sell at a noteworthy price. For many collectors, especially those seeking high-grade proof versions, this coin represents the perfect balance between affordability and desirability. It's not so expensive that only elite collectors can afford it, but it's still special enough to command attention. Today, we're stepping into that world to explore the 2016 mint Washington quarter dollar, how it came to be, why collectors take interest in it, and what makes certain examples of this modern coin worth much more than 25 cents. The modern Washington quarter has lived many lives since its original debut in 1932, each redesign reflecting a moment in time, a story to preserve, or a celebration of the nation's heritage. By the time we reached the year 2016, the quarter had settled into its role within the America the Beautiful series, a decade-long program that honored national parks and historic sites across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the U.S. territories. These rotating reverse designs captured landscapes, memorials, and landmarks with a level of detail that frequently impressed collectors and casual observers alike. But regardless of the reverse image, the obverse always carried the familiar portrait of George Washington, stoic, steady, and instantly recognizable. It's a face that has watched the nation change, grow, and redefine itself over generations. The 2016 quarters came with several reverse designs, one for each location honored that year: Shawnee National Forest in Illinois, Cumberland Gap National Historical Park in Kentucky, Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota, Harper's Ferry National Historical Park in West Virginia, and Fort Moultrie from South Carolina. Each one tells its own story, from natural wonders to pivotal moments in early American frontier history. Whether the scene is a sweeping forest vista or a historic stronghold overlooking the water, every coin minted that year holds a fragment of the American narrative. But today, the focus turns specifically to the version minted in Philadelphia, the one marked with the simple but important letter P. That mint mark, placed neatly to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse of the coin, silently identifies the birthplace of that particular quarter. A mint quarter does not carry precious metal content. It is not a silver strike or a collector's edition proof. Instead, it belongs to the stream of everyday circulation, created on high-speed presses that shipped millions upon millions of coins into the daily flow of commerce across the country. So why would anyone care about a 2016 quarter at all? The answer begins with the quiet truth that coin collecting is as much about preservation as it is about rarity. Even a common coin can become sought after if it survives in pristine condition, untouched by the scuffs, dents, and scratches that are inevitable in pocket change. When a modern circulation coin manages to remain unscathed, perfectly struck, and brilliantly lustrous, collectors take notice. the Philadelphia Mint struck vast quantities of 2016 America the Beautiful quarters, yet only a tiny fraction emerged with flawless surfaces, sharp details, and a level of eye appeal worthy of the highest grading tiers. Finding these coins in the wild is extremely rare. Coin hunters often sift through rolls ordered from banks, hoping to encounter those exceptional examples that display near-perfect clarity in Washington's hair, crisp lettering, and unblemished fields. Over time, professional coin grading has become the collector's gold standard, literally redefining the value of a coin based on the precision and preservation of its features. A 2016 P quarter graded at the top of the Mint States scale can command a price far beyond the humble 25-cent denomination because it represents something unusual, the survival of a coin in a nearly ideal state despite being created for everyday use. The grading process evaluates everything from luster and strike sharpness to the presence, or absence, of marks visible under magnification. Collectors also develop a personal connection to certain dates or series. The America the Beautiful program resonated with many people because it blended artistry with geography. Someone who grew up near Harper's Ferry or wandered the trails of Theodore Roosevelt National Park might feel an instinctive desire to collect the quarter that represents that place. Others appreciate the sheer variety the series offered, a rotating gallery of national treasures carried in wallets across the nation. As you hold a 2016 P quarter, imagine the journey it could have taken, minted in the historic Philadelphia facility, stacked into large bins, sorted into bags, and shipped across states to banks and businesses. Perhaps it passed between the hands of tourists visiting the very parks depicted on the reverse. Perhaps it ended up in someone's coin jar for years before landing in the possession of a keen-eyed collector. Every coin carries traces of those invisible travels. Even when the physical surface remains perfect, the demand for certain modern quarters has surged in recent years as more people discover the appeal of collecting U.S. currency. The accessibility of the hobby, being able to find potential treasures in spare change, makes it attractive to newcomers. At the same time, seasoned collectors recognize that high-grade examples of modern circulation strikes are surprisingly difficult to find, sometimes even more difficult than older coins whose surviving population is well documented. The result is a marketplace where select pieces minted in recent decades receive strong interest, especially those that showcase the highest level of quality. When you look at a brilliant 2016 P quarter under a good light, the reflective surfaces can almost shimmer like a tiny sculpture. The raised relief of Washington's profile, the sharply defined lettering of United States of America, and the crisp edges of the National Park reverse all come together in a way that reminds us why the quarter is considered a miniature work of art. For many collectors, the appreciation goes beyond monetary worth. It becomes an admiration for the craftsmanship that artisans and engravers pour into every design the Mint releases. Even a familiar portrait takes on renewed depth when viewed with the collector's eye. Of course, not every 2016 P quarter will achieve the kind of grade or quality that drives collector interest. Most have already experienced plenty of wear. Many carry small contact marks from colliding with thousands of other coins in the minting and shipping process. Some show rub on Washington's cheek, scratches across the fields, or tiny nicks on the edges. This natural wear is the destiny of the average circulating coin. But that's what makes the exceptional examples so special. They have defied their environment, preserved instead of scuffed, pristine instead of battered. Coin values can shift over time, influenced by collector demand, grading trends, and the number of high-grade examples known. Fortunately, the 2016 P Mint quarter has attracted enough interest to make well-preserved specimens sell for more than face value. While most coins from this date remain worth one quarter, examples in extraordinary condition, especially those with professional certification, can sell for considerably more in today's collector market. The real allure of exploring coins like these lies in the discovery. Anyone can find a piece of numismatic history in the most unexpected place: a teller's tray, a parking meter refund, a forgotten jar of change in a kitchen drawer. Each time someone examines a quarter closely instead of tossing it aside, they participate in a tradition that spans generations, a quiet hobby built on curiosity, preservation, and respect for the small relics that pass through our hands every day. The 2016 P Mint Washington quarter is a perfect example of how even a modern, Mass-produced coin can capture attention when examined through the lens of passion and knowledge. Its tie to the America the Beautiful series gives it visual interest. Its status as a Philadelphia Mint strike gives it identity. Its ability to shine in high grade gives it value. And its place in the pockets of millions of Americans gives it life. As this journey through the story of the 2016 P Mint quarter comes to a close, the value that collectors sometimes assign to a pristine example becomes meaningful not simply because of the number itself, but because of what it represents: rarity hidden in plain sight. So, for those wondering the amount that a particularly high-quality example can reach on today's market, that number stands at $15.275.